極めたるこの我に向かって。
ごちゃごちゃとうるさいよ。
闇の根源魔法。
Everyone thought he was just a level 1 loser, but in reality was about to become the most overpowered hero in the world. Before all of this, Fleo was just a simple trader living in a fantasy world where demi-humans were treated like slaves. But unlike everyone else, Fleo was different. He treated them with kindness, respect, and even paid them fair wages for their work. Because of this, the other traders hated him. But one day, while loading goods onto his wagon, something impossible happened in a flash of light. Fleo was suddenly transported to another world when he opened his eyes. He found himself surrounded by dozens of hooded priests celebrating. They had finally succeeded in summoning a hero. The Pope approached him and explained the situation. Their kingdom was on the brink of destruction. The demon army was preparing to invade. They desperately needed a hero to save them. Before Fleo could even process what was happening, a maid stepped forward and placed a magical crystal in front of him. The Pope explained that every hero summoned into this world begins at level 1, but the gods grant them overpowered abilities that ordinary humans could never obtain. Suddenly, a glowing screen appeared in front of Fleo, revealing his stats. Everyone leaned forward in anticipation, but the moment they saw the numbers, their excitement instantly turned into horror. Every single stat was below average, and worse, he didn't even have a single special ability then. As if to make things even more humiliating, another hero was summoned on the pedestal next to him, and his stats, 999 across the board. The entire hall erupted in celebration. Everyone immediately dropped to their knees, praising the blonde hero as the true savior of the kingdom. Meanwhile, they looked at Fleo like he was nothing but garbage. The king quickly arrived and began showering the blonde hero with praise and expansive gifts, officially declaring him the chosen hero, and just like that, Fleo became completely irrelevant. Standing alone on the balcony, he looked out at the city and sighed. He felt like he had disappointed them, just like he always disappointed his parents, so he decided to ask them to send him back to his world. But things didn't go the way he expected the next morning. Soldiers forced him into a carriage and exiled him from the capital. The Pope had already explained that the summoning portal had closed, meaning there was no way for him to return home. To make matters worse, the king had decided to dump him in a remote forest where nobody lived. He even warned him never to return to the capital or tell anyone he came from another world. During the long journey, Fleo tried talking to the lizard man escorting him, but the man simply told him to shut up, saying nobody wanted to talk to a loser. For the next 20 days, Fleo ate, slept, and traveled inside the wagon. Until finally, they reached the mysterious forest. The scenery was beautiful. Tall trees, fresh air, and peaceful surroundings. For a moment, Fleo thought maybe he could actually live here. Before leaving, the lizard man handed him a bag containing money, food, and basic supplies, but then he gave him a strange warning. This forest was rumored to be the stronghold of powerful demon generals. After saying that, he left FLO alone. Curious, FLO opened the bag and pulled out a sword. It looked impressive with its golden handle and sharp blade, but before he could admire it, a group of purple slimes suddenly attacked him. At first he ignored them since slimes usually weren't aggressive, but these ones immediately lunged at him. Startled, Fleo swung his sword and sliced them apart. But the moment he did, the blade shattered into pieces. Apparently the sword was cheap garbage. Then suddenly a glowing screen appeared. It said his level had increased. Confused, Fleo checked his stats again, and his jaw dropped. Every single one of his abilities had suddenly become SS rank before he could understand what was happening. A voice suddenly appeared. An AI assistant named Alexa popped up and introduced herself as his guide. She began explaining that he had unlocked countless powerful magic spells. Then she revealed something even more shocking. The bag that King gave him contained a GPS tracker and monster bait designed to attract dangerous creatures. In other words, the king had sent him here to die. Luckily, Alexa had offered to remove all the curses and traps from the bag. After Fleo agreed, she instantly purified it. Just as Fleo was about to explore the forest, Alexa had warned him about another problem. The entire forest was filled with poisonous gas released by demons. Humans couldn't survive inside it. But then she asked him a simple question. Did he want to purify the forest? Fleo casually said yes. And instantly a massive beam of light exploded across the sky, sweeping through the entire forest and cleansing everything. Moments later, dozens of system screens started popping up non-stop. Meanwhile, back in the kingdom, the princess was furious. She scolded her father for sending Fleo to his death, but the king didn't care to him. Fleo was just useless trash. Suddenly, one of the royal mages rushed in with shocking news. An S-rank purification spell had just been Caster King immediately assumed the blonde hero had done it while fighting the demon army, but the mage shook his head. The magic didn't come from the battlefield, it came from the north, right from the forest where Fleo had been abandoned. And back in the forest, Alexia was just getting started explaining how powerful Fleo had really become. Alexa then explains that Fleo's current level has reached 367. At this point, he's basically a god compared to everyone else in this world, but Fleo isn't interested in becoming some legendary ruler. He just doesn't want to live alone, so Alexa suggests something. When questionable, she tells him to shapeshift and create a new identity. Since everyone in the capital already believes he's a useless failure, Fleo agrees. At first, Alexa accidentally turns him into a thick-thighed girl, but after a moment, Fleo quickly realizes that this form definitely isn't for him, so he changes back into a male form, one that nobody in the capital has ever seen before, with his new identity ready. He decides to visit the capital again just for fun. Alexa reminds him that he can now use teleportation magic. The moment he activates it, he instantly appears inside the city. The sudden teleport shocks him. Curious, he tries using the same magic to return to his original world, but it fails, so instead he decides to drown his frustration with a drink. Before that, however, he heads to the Adventurers Guild. To register as an adventurer, the receptionist explains the ranking system and gives him an identification tag. His rank, E rank, the lowest of the low. Fleo shrugs and walks over to the quest board. That's when he notices a small girl asking the adventurers for help. She wants someone to escort her to the mysterious forest where her parents supposedly live. Unfortunately, no one accepts the request. She doesn't have much money, and the forest is considered extremely dangerous. Seeing this, Fleo decides to help her. He tells the girl he'll escort her for free since he can simply teleport them there. The entire guild suddenly goes silent. Teleportation magic is incredibly rare. Only the high-strength sorcerers can normally use it. Just as people begin whispering, a group of female adventurers suddenly approaches him. Their leader, a blonde swordswoman, immediately places her blade against his throat. They accuse him of being suspicious and demand proof that he can actually use TLEPORTATION to test him. They drag him into a nearby alley. The blonde warns him that if he tries to escape, she cut him down immediately. Fleo sighs, then activates his spell. In an instant, all of them are teleported to the mysterious forest. The group stares around in shock. They confirm their location on a map. There's no doubt about it. He really teleported them here. Confused, the witch in the group asks why someone capable of such magic is still E-rank. Meanwhile, the blonde swordswoman awkwardly apologizes for threatening him earlier as they investigate the forest. They quickly notice something strange. The poisonous gas that once filled the forest is completely gone. Fleo almost tells him that he purified the area, but Alexa suddenly interrupts him with a warning. The little girl he escorted, she's actually a demon. Before Fleo can react, the blonde swordswoman steps forward and draws her sword at the girl. The other adventurers immediately prepare for battle. They reveal that the guild had already issued a warning. A mysterious girl had been luring adventurers into the forest, and this forest is rumored to be the territory of one of the Demon King's generals. As the blonde pushes her sword closer, the girl begins crying, but suddenly, her expression changes. A cruel smile spreads across her face. Her fangs grow, her body begins transforming. Within seconds, the girl reveals her true identity. She is Fen, a massive wolf demon, and not just any demon. She is one of the 4 generals of the Demon King's army. Fen explains that she was sent to monitor the adventurers since they discovered her identity. None of them can be allowed to leave alive. Thick poisonous gas quickly spreads through the forests. The adventurers collapse to the ground, weakened by the toxin, but Fleo remains standing, completely unaffected. Fen notices this but ignores him for the moment. She moves in to finish off the blonde swordswoman, but just before the killing blow lands, Fleo jumps in and saves her. He quickly realizes he can't fight while protecting everyone at the same time, so he tells Alexa to teleport the injured adventurers back to the capital. In an instant, they disappear. Now, it's just Fleo and the demon general. Fen lunges at him with terrifying speed, but Fleo instantly teleports behind her using instant transmission. She spins around and attacks again with razor-sharp claws. Fleo responds with earth magic, raising a wall that blocks a strike. Then he counters with wind magic, launching her into the air. Realizing Fleo isn't weak at all, Fen teleports behind him for a surprise attack, but Fleo reacts even faster. He casts a gravity spell, slamming her into the ground. Fen is stunned. She has never seen magic like this before. Fleo realizes he needs to capture her somehow, but he has no idea which spell to use. That's when Alexa suggests something shocking. She recommends using slave magic, which would force Fen to obey him completely, but Fleo immediately refuses. He has no intention of enslaving someone even if she's an enemy. Meanwhile, Fen attempts to escape using teleportation, but Alexa instantly nullifies the spell. She once again urges Fleo to use a slavery magic, and once again, Fleo refuses. Fen keeps trying to escape using teleportation magic, but every attempt fails. Fleo watches her struggle as Alexa keeps insisting that he should just use slave magic to control her, but Fleo can't bring himself to do it. In his previous world, he hated the idea of slavery, and he refuses to force someone into submission. Now meanwhile, Fen continues casting spell after spell, desperately trying to break free from the gravity magic, but nothing works eventually. She collapses on the ground, exhausted. Her mana is completely drained. Realizing she can't escape, Fen closes her eyes and tells Fleo to kill her, because once his mana runs out, she eventually regain her strength and become his enemy again. But Fleo simply shakes his head. He calmly tells her that he has no intention of killing anyone. Then he dispels the gravity magic. Fen is stunned. She slowly stands up and stares at him in disbelief. She reminds him that she's a demon warrior who has killed many humans before, so why would he let her live? Fleo looks at her gently and replies, "It doesn't matter if she's a monster, he'll never attack someone who has already surrendered." Hearing those words completely shocks her. Fen then transforms back into her small, human-like form. But there's just one problem. She has no clothes. Embarrassed, Fleo quickly removes his cloak and places it over her shoulders. Then he asks her to promise that she won't attack humans without reason anymore. Fen nods silently while Fleo searches through his bag for spare clothes. He suddenly turns around and sees Fen collapse onto the ground. She's fallen into a deep sleep. Her mana is completely depleted. Smiling softly, Fleo sets up a small tent and lets her rest. As evening arrives, he lights a campfire and begins checking the countless spells Alexa has given him. He still can't believe how powerful he's become. After all, people at the guild thought he was lying about teleportation magic. A while later, Fen finally wakes up. She walks over to the fire and asks if he used healing magic on her. Fleo smiles and tells her she's safe. Fen lowers her head. She says that normally she would have been killed long ago, but because he spared her life, she now owes him everything. She promises that she will never harm humans without reason again. Fleo thanks her, thinking that settles the matter. But Fen suddenly kneels down. She declares that since he saved her life, she will serve him as his slave from now on. Fleo immediately refuses. He says he doesn't need slaves. Those words make Fen visibly upset. Suddenly, she grows her claws again. She claims that if she can't serve him, then her life has no meaning as she tries to end her own life. Panicking, Fleo rushes forward and stops her. He quickly tells her that she can stay with him if she wants. That answer instantly brightens her face. Later that night, Fleo tells Fen the truth about himself. He explains that he's not from this world. He was summoned as a hero, a candidate, but because he was extremely weak and had no special abilities, the king simply abandoned him in the forest to die since they had no way to send him home to prove it. Fleo even changes his appearance back to his original face. He explains that technically he's now, banished from the kingdom, which means we constantly have to move from place to place. Life with him will be difficult, but Fen doesn't hesitate for even a second. She tells him she'll stay by his side, no matter what. Then she pledges her life and loyalty to him. Fleo is shocked, but also incredibly happy. He gladly accepts. Fen immediately hugs him tightly. Meanwhile, back in the royal castle, the kingdom's hero has returned from battle. Against the demon army, he reports a massive defeat to the king. When the king asks how so many knights were wiped out, the hero immediately starts blaming the soldiers. He claims the knights were weak and broke formation the moment they saw demons. Then he arrogantly says the king should be grateful that anyone survived at all. After saying that, he storms out of the throne room, but once he leaves, the king quietly asks one of the surviving knights what really happened. The knight reveals a completely different story. According to him, the hero was actually a coward. He hid behind the knights the entire battle, and the moment powerful demons appeared, he ran away, ordering the knights to cover his retreat. Hearing this, the king holds his head in disbelief. He doesn't know how he can possibly save the kingdom. Meanwhile, the hero walks back to his chamber, furious with himself. Despite all his training, he still hasn't become stronger. The next morning, Fleo and Fen return to the city. As they walk through the market, they decide to pretend to be husband and wife to avoid suspicion. Soon they arrive at the Adventurers Guild. Fen registers as an adventurer and happily receives her identification tag. Her rank is the same as FLEOZL.E-rank. Together, they walk over to the quest board, but suddenly, the receptionist announces an emergency quest. Large numbers of monsters have been spotted in the forest near the city, and they're moving toward the town. Everyone in the guild begins to panic. If monsters are this close to the city, it means the hero failed to stop them. The receptionist also announces that the guild will pay 10 times the usual reward for each monster killed. Fleo looks at Fen and says the reward sounds nice. but they should probably avoid fighting monsters that even the hero couldn't defeat. Fen looks at him in confusion. She reminds him that he's far stronger than her, and if she can defeat those monsters, then he definitely can. But Fleo still doubts himself. So Fen suddenly says that if he won't go, she'll go alone, and if she manages to defeat the monsters, then he'll have to admit he's stronger than he thinks. Fleo finally agrees. The two of them teleport to the forest where the monsters were reported. When they arrive, they find a small abandoned house that the Adventurers Guild has set up as a temporary base. Just as they are about to enter, they suddenly hear a scream coming from deeper inside the forest. Without wasting a second, they rush toward the sound, and when they arrive, they discover something surprising. It's the same group of girls that Fleo saved before, and just like last time, they're completely surrounded by monsters. Fen watches the scene and sighs. She bluntly tells Fleo that the girls are pathetically weak. Meanwhile, one of the monsters charges toward the tall night girl. Even though her arm is injured, she still tries to fight back, but the monster easily throws her aside just before the creature can finish her. Or Fleo raises his hand. A bolt of lightning magic blasts forward and completely fries the beast at the same time. Another monster lunges toward the witch, but Fen suddenly appears in front of it. With a single punch, he crushes the monster instantly. Within moments, the remaining monsters are defeated. The night girl approaches Fleo and thanks him for saving them again. But suddenly, another monster quietly appears behind Fen. It prepares to attack her, however. Fen slowly turns around. She gives the creature a terrifying death glare. The monster immediately freezes. Then it drops to the ground and starts begging for mercy. Everyone is shocked. Fen, however, finds the creature strangely cute, so she decides to keep it as a pet. Fleo sighs, but uses his magic to place a magic collar on the creature. Then he transforms it into a small, dog-rabbit-looking creature, a strange little abomination. Later that day, everyone gathers inside the house. The night girl introduces herself as Barley. The small red-haired girl is named Archer, and the girl with the big hat is simply called a witch. Barley then asks Fleo for a favor. She asks him to teach them how to fight properly, apparently. After the hero's humiliating defeat, he has completely stopped fighting the demon army. Instead, he's demanding a powerful right-hand warrior before he returns to battle. Because of this, the king has ordered every knight to become strong enough to defeat at least one monster on their own. As soon as Fen hears this, she becomes extremely jealous. She doesn't like the idea of Fleo spending time with other women. But before things get awkward, Fleo quickly introduces Fen as his wife. The moment she hears that word, Fen's face lights up with happiness. She happily suggests that the girls should stay in the house and train with them. The girls are thrilled by the idea, so they decide to begin their training the next day. The next morning, Fleo wakes up and finds Fen already sitting beside his bed. He immediately panics a little, then he remembers what happened the previous night. Fen had insisted on sleeping in the same bed as him because they were husband and wife, but Fleo became extremely flustered. He explained that in his world, marriage requires many formal ceremonies. Fen looked disappointed. She explained that among beast people, they can marry whoever they want whenever they want. No preparations required. Fleo suggested he would just sleep outside, but Fen pointed out something important. If the other girls notice them sleeping separately, they might get suspicious about their marriage. Realizing she's right, Fleo reluctantly agrees to sleep in the same room. However, he places two separate beds. Fen watches him and sighs. She then tells him to at least change out of his old clothes, but suddenly the door bursts open. Barley walks in without knocking. She sees the two of them in the bedroom and immediately misunderstands the situation. Her face turns bright red. Without saying a word, she quickly runs away in embarrassment. Later that day, the group begins their training, but things go very badly. Barley stands in front of a wild boar monster. Instead of attacking, she starts introducing herself politely. The boar obviously doesn't care. It immediately charges at her. Barley panics and runs away. The muscular warrior rushes in to save her and swings her giant sword, but completely misses the attack. Now the boar is even more enraged. Fen quickly tells the witch to cast magic shield. The witch successfully creates barrier. Meanwhile, Archer starts shooting arrows at the monster, but the arrows barely do any damage at all. Eventually, the witch runs out of mana. The magic shield disappears, and now the boar has a clear path to attack. From a distance, Fleo and Fen watch the situation. The group of girls are now running around helplessly while the boar chases them. It's honestly pretty pathetic. Later that evening, Fleo prepares some comfortable beds so the girls can finally rest. Everyone is grateful for the soft beds. Then they head to the kitchen. But when Fleo walks in, he freezes. On the table are several plates filled with huge chunks of raw meat. Fen proudly explains that she cut the meat from the boar they hunted earlier. She thought it would be a luxurious celebration meal. Fleo awkwardly explains that humans usually cook meat before eating it. Fen looks surprised, so she offers to cook it herself, but Fleo quickly stops her instead. He decides to cook dinner with Barley's help. Soon they prepare an amazing meal. Fresh salad, steamed rice, and perfectly cooked golden brown steaks. Fen starts to feel a little jealous when Fleo praises Barley's cooking. Barley shyly explains that her family used to be nobles, but after losing their wealth and status, she had learned cooking herself over time. She actually began to enjoy it. Everyone begins eating. They immediately start praising how delicious the food is. Fen, however, remains skeptical. She claims that fresh raw meat is the best food, and that vegetables are only eaten by weak animals. But Fleo convinces her to try some salad. To her surprise, she actually likes it. Then she takes a bite of the steak and her entire world changes. She has never tasted meat this tender and juicy before. The crispy golden crust completely amazes her, trying to hide how impressed she is. Fen pretends it's nothing special. Then she proudly declares that next time she will cook something even better. Later that day, Fleo and Fen travel to the capital city to sell the demon boars they hunted, since these creatures are classified as demon-class monsters. Everyone at the market is shocked when they see how many they brought. Everyone at the guild is completely shocked after all. Fleo is supposed to be a newbie adventurer, not some legendary S-rank hero capable of defeating powerful demon beasts so easily. Fleo quickly realizes something important: if they keep bringing back powerful monsters like this, people will start to get suspicious, so he decides that from now on they should tone down the monsters they hunt. Fen agrees with the plan. Before leaving, she tells Fleo that she needs to go into town for a personal errand and that they'll meet later. Fleo waves goodbye as she leaves. Just then, a Beastman guild member approaches him and asks if they can talk somewhere in private. Fleo doesn't think much of it and follows him into another room. The man explains that Fleo's recent achievements have become a major topic of discussion throughout the kingdom. Apparently, even the king himself has heard about his accomplishments. Because of this, the king wants to grant Fleo the title of Honorary Knight. It's one of the highest honors a commoner can receive. Not only that, the king also wants Fleo to serve under the kingdom's hero and help fight against the demon army. But Fleo doesn't even hesitate. He immediately declines the offer. He explains that he's perfectly happy living a peaceful life and has no intention of joining the war against the demons. The Beastman is shocked by his answer, but Fleo simply leaves the guild without caring about the offer. By the time the sun begins to set, Fleo finds Fen waiting for him outside. However, she looks terrible. She's covered in ash and her clothes are completely ruined. Fleo becomes worried and asks if she was attacked by a demon. Fen casually says it was nothing serious, but the truth was actually much more embarrassing. Earlier that day, she saw a poster for a cooking class in the capital, so she decided to secretly attend it. Unfortunately, Fen has absolutely no talent for cooking. Every dish she tried to make turned into a disaster. And when she tried to use magic to create a cooking flame, she accidentally blew up the entire classroom. After that, an entire month passes peacefully. Not much happens during that time, however. The king's messengers occasionally visit Fleo's house, repeatedly asking him to join the hero's party and fight the demon army. But every single time, Fleo politely refuses. Meanwhile, the girls continue their training. The muscular warrior girl becomes interested in farming instead, with the help of Fen's strange little pet monster. She creates a small garden. Surprisingly, she successfully grows fresh vegetables. But because of this new hobby, she basically stops focusing on combat training. At the same time, Fen tries to help Archer overcome her fear of shooting living creatures. The girl is only comfortable shooting arrows at wooden targets. Fen even tries to motivate her by talking about how delicious beast meat can be, but the attempt completely fails. Meanwhile, the witch still suffers from having a very small mana pool, so Flea gives her a magical ring that increases her mana capacity. He asks her to wear it for a day and tell him if it helps. The witch blushes slightly as she prepares to put the ring on her ring finger while thinking about Fleo, but before she can do it, Fen suddenly appears behind her with a terrifying smile. Fen warns her that if she puts that ring on her ring finger, she cut her hand off. The poor witch immediately panics. At the same time, Barley tries to act helpless again, pretending to be in danger and calling for Fleo to save her, but Fen instantly slices the attacking monster in half before anything that happens. Then she tells Barley to stop pretending to be weak, otherwise she might accidentally cut her in half too. Barley nervously laughs and pretends she has no idea what Fen is talking about, but Fen isn't fooled. She knows Barley is just trying to act fragile, so Fleo will rescue her like a knight in shining armor. Fen warns her to keep her eyes off her husband. Suddenly, Fen pauses. She feels like someone is watching them, but when she looks around, she can't find anyone. Later that evening, everyone gathers at the table for dinner. This time, the food was completely prepared by Fen. The girls are shocked. Compared to the raw meat she served before, this meal is a huge improvement. They jokingly ask if she used magic, or if she secretly stole the food from a restaurant. Fen proudly explains that she cooked everything herself. For the past month, she has been secretly attending cooking classes in the capital, even though she was terrible. At first, she kept practicing until she could finally cook something edible. Everyone begins eating it. Surprisingly, the food is actually very delicious, but Fen only cares about one person's reaction. Fleo's Lingle quotes us. She watches him carefully as he takes a bite, then Fleo smiles and says the food is amazing. He even says he could eat the entire pot by himself. Hearing this makes Fen incredibly happy, but none of them realize someone has been secretly watching them through the window. It's a demon spy. The beast woman recognizes Fen immediately. She's shocked to see a powerful demon living peacefully among humans. She wonders if Fen is secretly planning something, maybe even plotting to assassinate the hero. But before she can escape and report this information to the demon, King Fen suddenly appears. Right behind her, the spy nearly jumps out of her skin in fear, then calmly drags her inside the house. The spy introduces herself as Eula, the Demon King's personal assistant. Surprisingly, Fleo offers her a cup of tea. Eula's completely confused by the hospitality. She politely thanks him, but immediately burns her tongue on the hot tea. Fen then gets straight to the point. She asks why the Demon King's assistant is spying around this forest. Eula explains that many demons have recently died in this region, so she was sent to investigate, and during that investigation, she discovered Fen. Fen casually explains that the demons attacked her first, so she simply killed them all. She also proudly introduces Fleo as her husband. Eula is completely shocked by this revelation. Fen then asks her a very simple question. Does she intend to cause trouble for them? Eula immediately shakes her head in panic. She insists she has no such intentions, and accidentally burns her tongue again while drinking tea. She still can't understand something. Though, how is a normal human like Fleo so calm while sitting next to a powerful demon? So she secretly tries to check Fleo's status, but, strangely, she can't read his stats at all, confused. She then asks Fen if she knows anything about what happened in the northern forest. Apparently, there are no demons left alive there anymore. Fleo calmly answers the question. He explains that he used a purification spell in the forest, but he had no idea that the magic would actually kill all the demons living there. Fleo calmly apologizes after explaining what happened in the northern forest. But Eula is completely stunned. She can't believe what she just heard. She asks him again to confirm if he was really the one who cast the purification magic that wiped out all the demons in that forest. Then she turns toward Fen. She asks if Fen knew about this. Eula explains that Fen's own brother was also in that forest when it happened, and he died because of Fleo's magic. Hearing this, Fen's expression suddenly becomes dark. She coldly tells Eula to shut her mouth. Fleo looks at Fen with concern and gently asks if she already knew that he had killed her brother. Fen calmly answers her brother was a wolf warrior. For a warrior like him, the worst thing someone could do would be to mourn his death. Besides, he was one of the 4 generals of the Demon King's army. Someone of that level should have known how dangerous the battlefield is. Fen then turns toward Fleo. She tells him that none of this changes how she feels. In fact, it only makes her love him even more. She says she originally fell in love with him because of his overwhelming strength, but after living with him, she realized how kind and gentle he truly is, and that made her love him even more deeply. Unfortunately, the other girls accidentally overhear this conversation. The witch immediately faints when she realizes that Fen is actually the legendary wolf demon who nearly killed them before. Meanwhile, Eula suddenly stands up. She asks Fleo if he would be willing to spar with her. Fleo agrees without hesitation. Once they step outside, the battle begins. But Eula suddenly launches a poison attack at Fleo. At the exact same time, she secretly casts another magic circle aimed directly at Fen. Seeing Fen being targeted instantly enrages Fleo without even moving. He simply snaps his fingers. Both of Eula's attacks instantly disappear. Then Fleo casts a powerful crucifixion spell, trapping Eula in midair and completely immobilizing her. He warns her in a calm but terrifying voice. If she ever attacks Fen again, there will be consequences. Then he releases her and tells her to leave the next morning. A loud commotion echoes through the forest. Everyone runs outside to see what's happening. And what they see is shocking. Eula has returned, but this time she brought an entire army of dragons with her. The massive dragon squadron flies through the sky as she prepares to take revenge. But instead of being afraid, Fleo looks excited. He has never seen a dragon before, and he has always wanted to collect a dragon scale without wasting time. He casts a massive lightning spell. The sky flashes, and within seconds, almost all of the dragons fall from the sky, completely barbecued. Eula stands there in absolute disbelief. How could a single human destroy the strongest aerial force of the demon army so easily? Meanwhile, the muscular warrior girl looks at the fallen dragons and wonders something. If she had thrown her farming hoe at one of them, would she have earned the title of Dragon Slayer? Fleo casually tells her it's not too late to try. One of the remaining dragons tries to escape, so the girl throws her hoe at it. At that exact moment, Fleo secretly casts a boost spell on the flying hoe. The tool shoots forward like a missile and instantly kills the dragon. Just like that, she earns the prestigious title of Dragon Slayer. The other girls immediately surround Fleo. They all beg him to help them get the title too. But, unfortunately, all the dragons have already fled. There are none left to kill. Seeing this disaster unfold, Eula immediately runs away, far and away in his castle. The Demon King has been watching everything after seeing his dragon army get completely destroyed. He decides to handle this situation personally. He plans to kill both the mysterious adventurer Fleo and the traitor Fen. The next morning, girls are still gathered around the muscular warrior. They can't stop staring at the Dragon Slayer title floating in her status. The witch even brings back the hoe that killed the red dragon as a souvenir while everyone is still talking about it. Barley quietly leaves the house. She announces that she's heading into the forest, again to hunt monsters. The girls admire her determination. For a long time now, she has been going into the forest every single day to train. Even though her strength hasn't improved much, she never gives up. But the truth is very different. Once Barley reaches the forest, her expression changes. She's actually extremely frustrated. No matter how hard she trains, her power never increases, and watching the others grow stronger only makes it worse. She's especially angry that she didn't get the Dragon Slayer title. According to her, anyone who earns that title can instantly raise their social standing. From a commoner to a noble, it carries enormous prestige. If she had gotten that title, she could have restored her family's noble status, just like when she was a child. But she missed the opportunity, and now it's gone while she's standing there, lost in frustration. A strange man suddenly appears behind her. He asks if she knows about a couple living in this forest. Barley immediately becomes suspicious. The forest is filled with deadly monsters, yet this man is walking around without armor and seems completely calm. She cautiously replies that she does know the couple. Then she asks if he is an acquaintance of the husband or the wife. The man immediately answers, the wife. The moment he says that, Barley draws her sword and presses it against his throat. She accuses him of being a demon. After all, Fen used to belong to the demon army, so anyone looking for her must also be a demon. She demands to know what they want. She also makes it clear that Fen has no intention of returning. The man calmly says that he only came to talk. Barley still doesn't trust him, but she lowers her sword. She tells him that she can deliver a message, but she won't guide him to their home. The man agrees. Then, he asks her to tell Fen this message. He would like to have tea and talk for old time's sake. After saying that, the man quietly walks away. Bali stands there confused. That encounter felt very strange just then. Fleo and Fen rush out of the forest looking worried. They ask if she's okay. Bali says she's fine and claims he was only talking to a lowly demon. She was only talking to a lowly demon. She asks why they suddenly came looking for her. Fleo explains the reason according to the barrier spell he placed around the forest. The Demon King himself just entered the area and he was talking to someone. Hearing this immediately terrifies Bali. She starts panicking, convinced that the Demon King will definitely kill her now. But somehow, Fleo doesn't seem worried at all. Fleo gently calms Bali down, assuring her that everything will be fine after that. They all return to the cottage for a while. Everything seems peaceful again. But the next morning, someone knocks on the door. Fen opens. A10 immediately freezes standing. Outside is the Demon Lord himself. She glares at him and angrily asks what he wants. But before the situation turns violent, Fleo calmly steps forward and says there's no need for fighting, they can simply sit down and talk. The Demon Lord introduces himself as Go. He looks at Fleo with curiosity. He wonders why this human, who clearly knows he is the king of the demons, shows absolutely no fear. Soon. Everyone heads inside. Just then, Bali happily walks out of her room, but the moment she sees the Demon Lord, she becomes completely terrified again. Everyone gathers in the guest room. Fleo politely offers Go a cup of tea and asks what he wants to discuss. Fen immediately speaks up. She firmly declares that she has no intention of returning to the demon army, and if Go came here to take revenge for the cat girl they beat up earlier, then he can forget about it. But Go calmly shakes his head. That's not why he came. Instead, he turns toward Fleo and asks him to join the demon army. This proposal completely catches Fleo off guard, however. He calmly answers that he has no interest in taking sides in this war. The Demon Lord thinks for a moment, then he asks something else. With the incredible power Fleo possesses, the human king must surely want him to fight for the kingdom, so how is he able to hide here peacefully in the forest? Fleo simply replies that being human doesn't automatically mean he has to fight for humans. In fact, he doesn't even understand why this war exists in the first place after all. He came here from another world. Hearing this, Go explains the history behind the conflict. The war actually began 500 years ago. Back then, another person from a different world appeared in this land. That person later became the first Demon Lord. He possessed immense power, but he also noticed something terrible. Humans treated demons like second-class citizens, so he raised his voice against that. Injustice. Many demons followed him, and that rebellion eventually turned into a massive war. Ever since then, generation after generation of demon lords have continued fighting humans. But Go reveals something surprising. He personally has no desire to wipe out humanity or conquer the world. Suddenly, his aura changes. A powerful wave of mana bursts out of his body with anger in his voice. He declares something important, even though he only wants demons and humans to live peacefully. If humans continue to hunt and slaughter demons, then he refuses to stand by and watch like a coward. He then looks back at Fleo, hoping that this display of power might intimidate him, and once again asks if he will join the demon army. But Fleo calmly sips his tea and refuses again. Seeing this, Go slowly relaxes. Then he starts smiling. He finds it fascinating that a mere human could be so stubborn and fearless. He even guesses that this must be the reason the human king couldn't force Fleo to join his side either. Finally, Go stands up. He says that this conversation isn't over yet, and that he will visit again soon. With that, he leaves. After he's gone, the other girls rush into the room to check on Bali. But when they look at her, they realize something hilarious. She had been sitting there the entire time, unconscious from fear. The next morning, Bali finally wakes up. She heads downstairs to wash her face, but the moment she walks into the kitchen, she freezes again. The Demon Lord is casually sitting at the table eating breakfast with Fen and Fleo. Bali nearly faints from shock. Go notices her and politely invites her to join them. But Bali panics and blurts out that she isn't dressed properly. Then she immediately runs away. The next day, she goes outside wearing full battle gear. But waiting for her outside is once again the Demon Lord. He politely asks if she'd like to take a walk with him. But Bali immediately runs away again, claiming she needs to practice training. A few days pass, and once again while Bali is checking the farmland, the Demon Lord appears just to spend some time talking with her. And once again, she runs away in terror. Meanwhile, inside the human kingdom, rumors begin spreading. Reports say that a demon has been visiting Fleo's cottage. The king becomes furious. First, Fleo refused to help the kingdom, and now it looks like he might be joining the demons instead. Enraged, the king orders the army to mobilize that. He plans to destroy Fleo's home and eliminate everyone there. But before the order is finalized, the princess steps forward. She warns that attacking Fleo might be a terrible mistake. It's possible he has been rejecting the Demon Lord's offers. If they attack him now, they might actually push him to join the demons for real. She suggests that they should instead speak with Fleo peacefully. The king immediately shuts her down, calling her an idiot, and cruelly telling her to go back to the kitchen where she belongs. Because war cannot be decided with emotions at that moment. The arrogant blonde hero steps forward. He asks the king to give him a small army. He promises to personally go talk to Fleo. If Fleo agrees to join the kingdom, then everything will be fine. But if he refuses, then the hero will simply destroy Fleo and everyone with him. The next morning, Fleo and Fen are quietly eating breakfast together. Fen suddenly asks him something. Is the reason he refuses to join either side? Because she is a demon? Because he doesn't want to fight her kind? Fleo admits that it is part of the reason, but there's more to it. He simply doesn't believe that demons are evil by nature before they can continue their conversation. The archer suddenly bursts into the room. She shouts at an entire army. As approaching, Fen immediately worries that the demon lord might be launching an attack. But when they step outside, they see something shocking. They are surrounded by the kingdom's army, and leading them at the front is the arrogant hero himself. Riding proudly with his flashy armor and cocky attitude, he walks straight toward Fleo and declares that he has come here to give him one final chance. The hero steps forward and gives Fleo two choices. Either he joins the side of humanity and helps him fight the Demon King. If he does that, the kingdom will reward him and forgive the fact that he refused them before. But if he refuses, then he will be declared a traitor to humanity, and the army will destroy him under the assumption that he is secretly working with the Demon King. Fleo calmly listens to the ultimatum, then he simply replies that he will not choose either side. He has no intention of playing any role in this war. The hero immediately smirks and looks down on him. To him, that answer already proves everything. If Fleo refuses humanity, then he must be an accomplice of the Demon King, and that means he deserves to die. Fleo calmly argues that he isn't anyone's accomplice. The girls also step forward and support him, explaining that he simply doesn't want to participate in the conflict, but the hero isn't interested in excuses. He turns to the girls and says that technically they should also be considered traitors. However, he's willing to forgive them if they help convince Fleo to change his mind. Otherwise, they will all die together at that moment. Bali suddenly speaks up. She says that she actually believes Fleo's right. Ever since she was born, she was taught that demons were evil creatures that needed to be killed. But after meeting Fen and the others, she realized something important. Demons aren't automatically evil. They're living beings with emotions and feelings, just like humans. Hearing this, Fleo turns to the hero and says something final. He refuses to fight against them, but he also refuses to stay here any longer. Fen immediately says she will go with him, and one by one, all the girls agree to leave as well. The hero laughs to him. This sounds like a joke. There's no way anyone could escape from an entire army surrounding them. With the next moment, Fleo simply activates his teleportation magic in an instant. He teleports his entire house, the farmland, and everyone inside it to a completely different location. The army watches in shock as the entire property vanishes from existence. Just then, the Demon King arrives again. He originally came to see Bali, but when he notices the army surrounding the empty land, he immediately understands what happened. The humans forced Fleo and his friends to flee. That realization makes him furious. His anger explodes as he transforms into his true demon form. Then he orders the entire demon army to launch an immediate attack on the kingdom and seize control of the region. The sheer rage in his voice terrifies the hero, and without hesitation, the so-called hero runs away. Meanwhile, Fleo safely arrives in a completely new area. The girls are amazed to see that not only the house, but even their entire farmland arrived safely to celebrate their new beginning. Fen declares that they should have a feast. Everyone heads inside happily to prepare food, completely unaware that a massive war is about to begin. Back in the kingdom, news of the demon invasion finally reaches the king. The report completely shocks him. He quickly asks his ministers about the situation. They tell him that the demon army has already infiltrated the northern forest and is rapidly advancing. The king then asks about the hero, but the ministers hesitate before answering apparently. The hero saw the Demon King and ran away in fear, realizing the kingdom has no other option left. The king gives a desperate order. All royal mages must prepare a massive purification spell. The magic will cover the entire forest and should kill or heavily damage most of the demons. Meanwhile, the Demon King watches the chaos unfolding across the battlefield. His anger still burns intensely. One of his subordinates asks how they should proceed next. Just then, two other commanders arrive with new information after hearing their report. The Demon King suddenly changes his order. He commands all demon troops to withdraw from the forest. Immediately, his subordinates are confused. They were making incredible progress, but the Demon King explains the reason. The kingdom will likely gather every mage. They have to cast a large purification spell, and he refuses to let his soldiers die to that magic. Inside the royal palace, hundreds of mages gather together. They begin chanting a massive purification spell. The head wizard channels his power to amplify the magic to its maximum strength. Soon, a gigantic magic circle appears above the entire kingdom, and once the spell is complete, the purification energy spreads across the land. Meanwhile, far away from the conflict, Fleo returns home from a nearby town. Fen greets him and asks if his trip was successful. They sit down together for lunch. Fleo explains that he still hasn't found any useful business contacts yet, but tomorrow he plans to check how much armor makers earn in this town. Suddenly, the muscular warrior girl interrupts. She says that she has been working in the fields and believes they can sell crops for profit to support the household. The red-haired archer also shares her idea. She wants to become a horse breeder if they build a stable and buy some horses. She's confident she can make good money. Fleo finds the idea interesting. She explains that she used to work as an apprentice horse groomer and loves caring for horses. Fleo agrees that they could probably build a large stable nearby, which makes her extremely happy. However, during this entire conversation, the wizard and Barley sit quietly with their heads down. Both of them feel useless, they have no skills and no jobs. Fen quickly notices their mood and tries to cheer them up. Fleo also reassures them. He tells them that they don't need to worry about finding work, instead they should focus on improving their combat abilities. Meanwhile, back in the kingdom, the princess visits the royal hospital. Some ministers try to comfort her. They say that thanks to the purification spell, the demon army was forced to retreat, and they probably won't be able to attack again for at least 1 or 2 months. But the princess doesn't look impressed. Instead, she quietly reminds them that the princess reminds the ministers of something very important: to cast a massive purification spell. Every mage in the kingdom had to use up all of their mana. Even the king himself participated in the ritual because of that. All of them are now completely exhausted and won't be able to use magic again for at least 2 or 3 months. They cannot simply hope that the demon king will patiently wait for that long. They must find another solution. With the king unable to rule for the moment, the princess announces that she will temporarily take command of the kingdom. Everyone agrees to this decision and asks what her first plan will be. Without hesitation, she declares her first decree: the so-called hero will have all of his titles revoked. In her eyes, he was never worthy of being called a hero. A real hero would never run away in fear at the sight of the demon king. Later that evening, the former hero returns to the capital with his maid. But the moment he reaches the gates, a guard stops him. The guard informs him about the princess's decision. He is no longer recognized as a hero, and he is no longer welcome in the kingdom. The guard bluntly tells him to leave and go wherever he wants. The hero is furious. First, he tries to threaten the guards, then he desperately begs for an audience with the princess. But the guards don't care. They simply throw his belongings outside the gate and shut the doors in his face. Meanwhile, the next morning at Fleo's house, all the girls decide they want to thank Fleo and Fen for letting them stay there, so they come up with a plan. They insist that the two of them should go on a date, while the rest of them clean the entire house. Fen is absolutely thrilled by this idea. She immediately grabs Fleo and drags him toward the town. The two of them spend the entire day wandering through the streets. They eat delicious food, explore shops, and simply enjoy each other's company. At one point, Fleo realizes something. He has never properly thanked Fen for always standing by his side, so he tells her that he wants to buy her a gift. She can choose anything she likes. Fen becomes incredibly happy, but there's just one problem. She has never received a gift before. Because of that, she has no idea what would be appropriate to choose. Eventually, her eyes land on a jewelry store. She begins looking through the different pendants and brooches. One beautiful blue brooch immediately catches her attention. The shopkeeper smiles and says it would look wonderful on her. Without hesitation, Fleo buys it. He gently places the brooch on Fen's chest and tells her that she looks beautiful. Fen blushes deeply after a wonderful day together. The two return home. Fen is completely enchanted by the gift. She keeps staring at the brooch over and over again until late at night. Eventually, she falls asleep happily in her bed. Fleo notices this and smiles softly before going back to sleep as well. Back in the kingdom, the disgraced hero secretly sneaks into the castle at night. He knocks out several guards and makes his way into the royal treasury. There, he begins rummaging through piles of treasure. He is desperately searching for some kind of powerful magical item, something that will boost his strength enough to defeat the demon king. If he can do that, he believes he will regain the title of hero and return to living a luxurious life. While searching the treasury, he suddenly hears a mysterious voice. At first, it surprises him, but the voice calls out again, guiding him toward a wall. Suddenly, a hidden chamber opens. His maid becomes frightened because she can't hear anything. The hero quickly realizes that the voice must be speaking directly inside his mind. The voice claims that it can grant any wish he desires. Curious, the hero walks into the hidden chamber. Inside, he finds a sword stuck deep into the ground. The voice tells him to pull it out. After struggling for a moment, he finally manages to remove the sword. The moment it comes free, a powerful whirlwind erupts, blasting him backward. And suddenly, a genie appears in front of him. The genie calmly asks what wish he desires, promising that any wish will be granted. Meanwhile, the princess summons the legendary oracle. She wants to know the best way to deal with a demon king. But before they can even begin their discussion, something shocking happens. Magical collars suddenly appear around the necks of nearly everyone in the room. The people are completely confused, but the princess immediately understands what it means. She remembers reading about this in ancient history books. This is the brand of sacrifice. It appears when someone makes a wish to a genie hundreds of years ago. A king once used a genie's power to defeat the demon king, but the price of that wish was horrifying. Half of the kingdom's population died as payment. Realizing this, the princess turns to the oracle and asks what they should do. The oracle confidently explains that there is only one solution. They must find the true hero who was summoned to this world and ask for his help. Everyone quickly realizes who she is referring to. The man who refused the kingdom's request before. Fleo. The princess immediately decides that she will personally go to meet him and ask for his help. Meanwhile, Fleo is busy doing business. He manages to sell one of his dragon shields to an armorer for a very good price. He also establishes a potential trade route for selling more items in the future after finishing the deal. He thanks Barley for introducing him to the shop. The two of them start walking back home, but suddenly, Fleo senses something strange. His instincts warn him that a genie is approaching. And just a moment later, a genie appears right behind him. She introduces herself as HAA. It turns out that the idiot hero used his first wish to order the genie to kill Fleo. He believes that eliminating Fleo will allow him to reclaim his hero status. Without hesitation, The genie raises her hand to strike, but before the attack, Lance Fen suddenly jumps in front of Fleo. The deadly blow pierces straight through her chest. Blood spills as she collapses to the ground. With her final strength, she tells Fleo to run away. The genie immediately begins launching powerful explosion magic at Fleo, but none of it works. His automatic defense ability is far too strong. Fleo desperately tries to heal Fen's wound, but the injury is too severe. Even his healing magic cannot fully repair it. Seeing that her attacks aren't working, the genie decides to use a legendary class spell. She gathers an enormous amount of magical energy and unleashes a devastating attack that obliterates the entire area. The devastating spell destroys everything around them, but when the dust settles, Fleo is still standing there, completely unharmed, not even a single scratch is on his body. He gently places the nearly lifeless Fen on the ground and slowly stands up. His face is filled with pure rage. He declares that he will destroy the genie and blast her into a million pieces for hurting the person he loves the most in this world. Memories begin rushing through his mind. All the moments he shared with Fen, or the things they went through together. Then he realizes something terrifying. Without Fen, he would have no purpose left in this world. After all, the kingdom had already thrown him away once because the king believed he was useless. Now the only person who truly mattered to him was taken away. Fleo glares at the genie with burning hatred. He declares that he will never forgive her for what she has done. And then he casts an extremely rare spell, a time reversal spell. Immediately, time around them begins to flow backward. The broken brooch Fleo gave Fen slowly repairs itself. The massive wound in her chest disappears, the blood vanishes, and Fen returns to life. Though she remains unconscious, the genie is completely shocked. She cannot understand how a mere human could possibly use such an incredibly rare form of magic. Realizing that her opponent is far more dangerous than she thought, she prepares to fight seriously. She smirks and begins asking him who he really is. But before she can even finish her sentence, Fleo suddenly appears in front of her and punches her directly in the face. The blow sends her crashing to the ground. She stares at him in disbelief as blood starts running from her nose and screams that she will tear him apart. But Fleo isn't interested in listening. He slams his foot down on her, pinning her to the ground. Then he coldly tells her to shut her mouth. He says he wants to enjoy watching her destruction. Hearing this, the genie quickly casts a defensive spell, creating a powerful barrier around herself. But Fleo is operating on a completely different level. Driven by grief and rage, he simply smashes through the barrier effortlessly. He grabs her by the head and lifts her into the air. While struggling in his grip, tries to analyze his power, but what she discovers leaves her speechless. Every single one of Fleo's stats and abilities are maxed out to infinity. She cannot believe what she's seeing. Before she can react, Fleo slams her into a wall. Then he starts raining down punches on her relentlessly. Finally, he delivers a devastating uppercut that sends her flying into the air. Meanwhile, Fen slowly regains consciousness. She finds herself surrounded by a massive crater. Confused, she checks her body and realizes something strange. Her fatal wound is completely gone. Still dazed, she turns to Bali and asks what happened. Bali he explains that Fleo saved her life. Then she points toward the ongoing fight. Fen looks over and is completely shocked. Her normally gentle husband is punching and kicking a girl in the middle of the street. At first, she smiles proudly. She even tells Bali to look at how fiercely he's fighting for her. But then she suddenly remembers something important. Fleo once told her that he hated fighting. He never wanted to hurt anyone. Meanwhile, Fleo continues beating the genie until she's barely conscious. He grabs her by the neck and lifts her into the air in a chokehold. Terrified, Ka begs for mercy. But at this point, all compassion has vanished from Fleo's eyes. He tells her coldly that she is going to die. Just as he prepares to finish, Herfin suddenly runs forward and grabs him from behind. She desperately begs him to let the genie go. Her voice snaps Fleo back to reality. The rage slowly fades from his eyes. He loosens his grip. The genie collapses to the ground. Unconscious Fleo immediately turns around and grabs Fen's face, checking to make sure she is really alive. Feeling her warmth again fills him with overwhelming relief. He pulls her into a tight embrace, grateful that she is safe. At the same time, the princess and her group arrive at the village using teleportation magic. She thanks the mages who helped her even though they are extremely weak. She orders everyone to spread out and search the area. But suddenly something strange happens. The magical seals around their necks suddenly shatter and disappear. Everyone is relieved, but they are also confused about why it happened. The princess wonders if it means that the genie failed to fulfill the wish. Back at the castle, the guards have surrounded the treasury. Inside, the former hero is crying in frustration, screaming that the genie betrayed him. Suddenly, a mysterious magical entity escapes from the hidden chamber. The entity quickly possesses the body of the hero's maid. She begins laughing loudly, saying she has been sealed away for ages because of the genie. After stretching for a moment, she magically changes her clothes into something more suitable. Then she uses her power to force the hero to kneel before her with a single spell. She transforms him into a terrifying magical monster. The creature immediately smashes through the castle walls. The mysterious woman announces that she intends to take revenge on the royal family. She notices the faint traces of teleportation magic left behind earlier, using that magical trail. She decides to track down the princess so she can kill the heir to the throne. Meanwhile, back in the village market, Fleo heals the genie completely as she slowly wakes up. She immediately panics when she sees him. She hides in a corner and begs for mercy, but Fleur calmly reassures her that he has no intention of hurting her. Confused, the genie asks him why he would heal someone who just tried to kill him. Fleo simply replies that he healed her because Fen is safe now at that moment. Bali runs over and asks what they should do with the genie. They obviously can't hand her over to normal guards. Fleo thinks for a moment and suggests something. Since he recently learned several new spells, they might be able to seal her back inside the castle treasury, just like before. Fleo then reveals that he used mind reading magic on the genie. That's how he discovered the truth. She didn't attack him on her own. She was ordered to do it. By the hero hearing this leaves Ha completely shocked. Mind reading is an ability that normally only genies possess. No ordinary human has ever been able to use it before. Fleo explains that even if they seal her back inside the castle treasury, there's always a chance someone could release her again. And if that happens, the same problem would simply repeat itself, so they need to find a more permanent solution at that moment. Fen suddenly jumps in front of them. She confidently says she already has an idea. Her solution is simple. The genie should become Fleo's servant. Both Heya and Fleo are stunned by the suggestion. Fleo immediately tries to stop her, but Fen calmly explains her reasoning. If the genie joins their group, no one will be able to misuse her power again, and having a genie on their side would greatly increase the strength of their party. Still, Fleo hesitates. He looks at Fen and gently asks if she's really okay with this. After all, the genie was the one who nearly killed her. Fen takes a deep breath before answering. She admits that it's difficult, but in the end, she believes the real reason she got hurt was because she was too weak to protect herself. So instead of holding a grudge, she chooses to forgive the genie. Hearing this, Fleo slowly extends his hand toward Ha. He asks if she would like to travel with them, but he makes one important condition. She must promise never to kill anyone again. Ha is surprised by his kindness. Most humans she has met only act out of greed, but this man seems completely different. He has no malicious intentions at all, so she accepts his offer. Standing up, she swears her loyalty and devotes her life to serving him. Fleo awkwardly apologizes for beating her so badly earlier when he lost control, but Ha simply laughs it off. In fact, she admits that being beaten by him was actually kind of exciting. Then looks around at the massive destruction caused by the battle. The streets say are destroyed. Several houses are damaged. He considers using time reversal magic again to restore everything, but Ha quickly stops him. She warns him that he should never use time reversal again. The spell has serious consequences that he doesn't understand yet. She also explains something very important about his powers. Fleo possesses a rare ability that allows him to access the entire spell library of any magician who attacks him. That's why he suddenly gained access to abilities like mind reading and time reversal, which normally only genies can use. Instead of using time magic again, she suggests using restoration magic to repair the village. Later that evening, the group returns home. The other girls are waiting in the living room, but the moment they see the genie inside their house, they immediately panic. Everyone is terrified. Fleur calmly explains the situation. Since Ha has nowhere else to go, she will be staying with them. The archer girl nervously asks Bali if this is really safe, but Bali simply tells her to relax. Then, she turns to Ha and says her room is already prepared. That night, Fleo enters his room and finds Fen looking unusually sad. He sits beside her and gently asks, "What's wrong?" Suddenly, Fen climbs onto him with tears in her eyes. She asks him a painful question now that he can use the magic of genies. Does that mean he plans to return to his original world? She hugs him tightly and begs him to take her with him. She says she could never survive being left alone. Fleo softly reassures her. He tells her he has no intention of ever returning to his old world, and even if he could, that world would never accept demi-humans like her. He then confesses something important. When she almost died earlier that day, he realized that he can't live without her anymore. Looking directly into her eyes, he makes a heartfelt request. This time, he asks her to marry him for real. He wants to spend the rest of his life with her. Of course, Fen happily accepts it. To begin passionately kissing. Things quickly start getting heated, but suddenly, they notice someone standing in the doorway. It's Ha. She has been watching everything, completely embarrassed. Fleo immediately tells her to leave, but Ha calmly explains that as his servant, she must always know where her master is and what he's doing. Fleo angrily tells her that he needs some private time, while they argue upstairs. The girls downstairs who overheard everything decide it's best to just go to sleep and prepare for their next adventure. A few days later, the princess is still searching for the fallen hero, Fleo. She travels around the village asking everyone for information, but no matter how hard she tries, she can't find a single clue about his location. Meanwhile, back at the cottage, Shita has already settled into her new life. One morning, everyone gathers around the breakfast table. Surprisingly, the food was prepared by Ha instead of Fen. The others are shocked that a genie can actually cook. Ha explains that she could easily create food using magic, but Fen warned her that if she used magic, Flea wouldn't eat it, so she decided to cook everything herself without using any magic. She proudly says she enjoyed the experience. and would love to cook every day. But Fen quickly interrupts. Cooking meals for everyone is her responsibility instead. Ha should help with cleaning the house. Ha immediately agrees and promises to clean the entire house perfectly. However, this suddenly makes the other girls nervous. Cleaning the house is basically their only job. If Heisei starts doing that too, they might become completely useless after breakfast. The muscular warrior woman rushes out to the fields. He begins plowing the land with incredible determination. She refuses to let Ha take over this job as well, not wanting to be outdone. The rabbit companion transforms into his monster form and starts digging up the soil to help. Everyone is now desperately trying to prove they are still useful to the group. Meanwhile, the red-haired archer is busy working in the stables. She reflects on how she once dreamed of becoming a coachman, but instead she spends most of her time simply taking care of the horses and making sure they stay healthy. Still, she doesn't hate the job. She has always had a soft spot for horses, and the animals clearly like her as well. One horse even starts licking her face affectionately. Another gets a little too excited and starts nudging and licking her from behind, making her jump in surprise. Back at the house, the mage girl is lost in thought. Her father and brother are both royal mages, and she was supposed to become one too. But ever since she left the royal army to follow Fleo, that dream seems impossible. Without the kingdom's support, she feels like she no longer has a clear purpose. Then she suddenly remembers the time Fleo helped train her in the forest. Following his advice, she had managed to successfully cast a fireball spell that memory gives her new determination. Decides she will work hard and become a powerful mage so that Fleo's effort in teaching her won't be wasted. Suddenly, a loud scream echoes from outside. It sounds like it came from the muscular warrior woman. Alarmed, both the archer and the mage rush outside. When they reach the fields, they see the problem immediately. A huge purple horse with a glowing horn on its head is rampaging through the crops. The mage nervously asks if it's just a horse, but the archer quickly shakes her head. This isn't a normal animal. It's a magical creature, and judging by its strength, it's extremely dangerous. Suddenly, the beast charges toward them. The mage reacts instantly. She casts a shield wall spell, creating a magical barrier that protects both her and the archer from the attack. At that moment, the muscular warrior arrives. She apologizes for the situation. It turns out she was fighting the creature earlier while training in the forest. At first, the horse seemed calm and harmless, so she let her guard down. That's when it escaped and ran into their fields. The warrior raises her sword, ready to kill the creature, but from the other side of the field, the archer suddenly shouts for her to stop. She believes there's a better solution first. She tells their rabbit companion to transform back into his small rabbit form. Then she grabs a rope with a metal spike attached and throws it toward the beast. The magical horse catches the rope between its teeth. Using that moment, the archer flips onto its back. The horse begins thrashing wildly, trying to throw her off, but she holds on tightly. Slowly, she begins whispering gentle words into the animal's ear. A calm voice gradually soothes the beast. Little by little, the raging creature begins to relax. Eventually, the horse stops fighting completely. The other girls watch in shock. They can't believe she managed to tame such a dangerous creature. But the archer simply smiles. Most animals aren't truly violent, she says, they're just misunderstood. Meanwhile, in town, Fleo and Fen are enjoying a rare moment alone together. They're basically on a little date. Fleo came to sell some equipment he recently crafted. Sven happily holds his hand as they walk, still thrilled that they are now officially married. When they reach the shop, Fleo goes inside while Fen waits outside. Inside the store, Fleo shows the shop owner a newly crafted vest made from salamander skin. The merchant is impressed. Salamander skin clothing is extremely rare, and its lightweight nature makes it especially valuable. The merchant then begins showing Fleo several magic gemstones he recently acquired. Outside, Fen watches through the window, smiling to herself. She still can't quite believe that she and Fleo are truly married now. But suddenly, the peaceful moment is shattered. Dark clouds gather over the town. Strong winds begin blowing through the streets. The townspeople start whispering nervously, wondering what's happening. Then, a glowing magic circle suddenly appears in the sky. From the circle, a massive monster descends to the ground. Beside it floats a terrifying witch. Panic spreads instantly as people begin running for their lives. Nearby, the princess is also in the area. Her guards quickly surround her to protect her, but the witch immediately notices the royal presence. With a single swing, the monster smashes the guards aside. At the same time, Fleo rushes outside the shop to make sure Fen is safe. Fen explains that a monster suddenly appeared from a magical circle while everyone was trying to find somewhere to hide. Just then, the genie appears beside them. She says she sensed a powerful, dark and evil energy, so she rushed over to check on them. After observing the monster, she quickly explains what's happening. That creature used to be a human. The witch transformed him into a monster. The witch's name is Dharma, one of the most powerful witches from ancient times long ago. She conquered an entire region using dark magic and ruled it with fear. Eventually, a legendary hero defeated her, but even after her body was destroyed, her spirit remained too powerful to disappear. So, the kingdom sealed her spirit inside the pedestal where the sacred sword was kept, the same place where Ha herself had been. Sealed as Hay turns to Fleo and asks for permission. She wants to fight Dharma and stop her from destroying the town. After all, innocent people are dying. Fleo nods. He gives her permission to attack. Meanwhile, he and Fen decide to help in another way. They begin guiding people away from danger and evacuating the town at the same time. Dharma finally corners the princess only. One loyal knight stands between the witch and the future queen. He bravely raises his weapon. He determined to protect her, even if it costs him his life. But suddenly a massive explosion shakes the area. Dhama and the monster both look down in surprise, standing. There is the genie. She has arrived to defend the princess. The unexpected interruption immediately irritates Dharma. She angrily mocks Ha, accusing her of failing to complete the wish she was ordered to fulfill. And as the witch slowly rises into the sky, a terrifying battle is about to begin. The witch rises into the air and immediately unleashes an incredibly powerful spell, hoping to destroy Ha in a single attack. But to her absolute horror, the genie simply raises one arm and completely nullifies the spell as if it were nothing. Furious, the witch sends the monster charging towards Ha, ordering it to crush her at the same time. She launches several dark magical lances toward the genie. But Ha remains completely unfazed. She calmly blocks the attacks and then blasts the monster straight into the ground with overwhelming force. The witch, now extremely angry, descends to the battlefield itself. Realizing that normal attacks won't work, she decides to use one of her most destructive spells. The ground suddenly splits apart as dark energy is drawn from deep within the earth. The witch pours that energy directly into the monster. The creature begins growing larger and more grotesque with every passing second. The princess watches in horror as the enormous beast slowly begins moving toward the town. But suddenly, the magical circle powering the monster shatters. The creature instantly shrinks back to its original size. Ha calmly apologizes to the poor human, who had been forced to fight as a monster. Then she turns toward the witch with a cold expression in the next instant. Ha completely overpowers her. She pulls the witch's spirit out of the servant's body and compresses it into a tiny glowing ball. Then, without hesitation, she swallows it. Ha calmly explains that she will properly discipline the witch later. With the battle finally over, the princess rushes toward Fleo. She asks him if he is the hero who was wrongfully exiled by her father. Then she introduces herself as Princess Liz. She explains that the hero who replaced him was recently dismissed from his position due to his terrible behavior and incompetence. Because of that, the kingdom is now in serious danger. So she asks Fleo to return and take the position of hero once again, but Fleo politely refuses. He thanks her for the offer but explains that the kingdom deserves someone who can fight purely for humanity. He doesn't believe he is the right person for that role anymore. Later, they all return to the cottage. The girls are waiting eagerly for him. They excitedly tell him they have come up with an idea and need his permission. Their plan is to buy the nearby land and expand their property. They want to start a business together. Fleo smiles and agrees to negotiate with the local lord. The girls are overjoyed by the very next day. The land is purchased and everyone begins working hard to develop it. Everything seems peaceful once again. That evening, as the sun slowly sets, Fleo and Fen stand together watching the beautiful horizon. Fleo suddenly takes out something he crafted earlier. It's a ring made from a rare gemstone. He gently places it on Fen's finger and tells her that it's their official wedding ring. Fen, he's overwhelmed with happiness. She hugs him tightly, excited for all the adventures that await them in the future.